Okay, Balara. What's your lead on getting us a Fade expert for the team?
Good evening.
Greetings.
Myrna. Vorgoth. What's more of the Mourn Watch doing here?
I've been writing to a senior Fade expert. Turns out he's a watcher like you, but I needed help tracking him down.
Thus we came.
You've done well since we last met at the Necropolis, Rook. Back straight.
You wouldn't believe what I've seen since I left the Watchers.
No one truly leaves the Watchers.
I recall I was encouraged to travel for a time.
It's brushed the dust from your bones.
So Balara's been in touch with one of our own necromancers.
Yes. Do you know Professor Emmrich Volkarin?
I've heard of him around the Necropolis. Never met.
The professor specializes in the Fade and spirits, a truly powerful psychagogue. He's currently investigating a disturbance in the Shrouded Halls. Seek him there.
Thank you for the lead.
You're most welcome.
Rook, prepare well.
Agreed. The Shrouded Halls have lately been restless.
This is it. But no sign of the professor.
I hope he's here and that he doesn't mind us disturbing him. He is a senior necromancer. I don't... Oh!
What a marvelous surprise! Any trouble with the lift? Our last guests were stuck for hours. Poor souls. Oh. Professor Emmrich Volkarin of the Mourn Watch.
Hello, Professor. We've never met. Well, in person, but I've been writing to you.
Balara, my dear girl, what a pleasure. Surely you didn't come all this way just to see me.
Actually, we did. You see, we need a Fade expert.
Rook, fellow Mourn Watcher.
Rook! Myrna's mentioned you.
Nothing to scare you off?
She said you've advanced adequately through the ranks.
Oh, how sweet.
I'd be pleased to continue our conversation after I tend to some small business here. Must investigate. Would you two mind accompanying me further into the Shrouded Halls?
Never thought I'd actually see this place for myself.
Things have changed since you left the Order, Rook. The dead stir more easily than they should. Tell me, Rook, what work took you so far away from the Necropolis?
You remember that uprising of undead nobility a while ago?
The War of the Banners? I was up in the city when that broke out. I heard a young watcher, Ingolvar, put a stop to it through unorthodox measures.
And got into trouble. It was decided it might be best for that young watcher to see the world.
Ah, say no more.
I know it's a lot, but I swear we've seen the blighted elven gods ourselves.
It would explain recent oniric disruptions.
At the least, the implications of what Rook's witnessed are... Ah, thank you, Manfred.
Adorable. Is your assistant wearing the old Watcher livery?
Manfred sewed it himself. Eventually.
You spoke of danger to the Fade.
The elven gods plan to tear it wide open to get to the Blight. I came home to find a necromancer who'd help stop them. A Fade expert.
Many Watchers never depart Navara. But with events so dire,
I'd be delighted to assist.
It has been many years since you left us.
Well, yes, but elven gods, ancient magics. I couldn't bear miss this. Besides, I've spent my life exploring the Fade and speaking to spirits. If Rook needs an expert, none are better qualified than I.
It'll be good to have another Mourn Watcher along.
My knowledge is at your disposal, and I could catch you up on events at the necropolis.
Welcome aboard.
Wonderful! I'll gather my things. Come, Manfred.
A third edition of the Unnameable Elements? I didn't even know it had editions.
Oh, it's much improved with the index. Please, borrow it if you'd like.
I'd love to. Oh, Rook, you probably wanted to say hi. Thanks, Professor.
You look moved in.
Just a few essentials. Manfred was a great help with the boxes. What a fascinating place this lighthouse is. What do you make of it?
It's much nicer with another Mourn Watcher around.
Is it?
Especially one with experience.
I must be sure to live up to expectations.
Did you get the tour yet?
Oh, I've been exploring, but I noticed a few of the others taken aback by Manfred, and I overheard remarks about my skulls. My necromancy won't cause any undue worry, will it?
We're still getting used to one another.
True, and yet...
Give it time. We'll settle in.
Please excuse me. Manfred and I should finish our inventory. Thank you for stopping by. By the way, Rook, before I left, Myrna and Vorgoth asked if we could assist with an outbreak of hauntings across Thedas. They also mentioned displaced wisps in the necropolis. I'm not sure what's frightened them, but it bears investigation.
A Watcher's work is never done.
How true. I'll send word the necropolis should expect us. I'm sorry, but I find it completely unnatural.
I don't get why you think cremation's so bad. Everyone outside Navara burns their dead.
All those lost vessels, fine mansions reduced to ash. Manfred, for instance, how would his wisp have fared if I hadn't given it a body?
Manfred's very aware for one of the common dead.
Isn't he? You can see why I couldn't leave him behind. I encountered him as a wisp in the necropolis years ago. A simple spirit, but so curious. He refused to leave my side.
So, you built a skeleton for the spirit to live in?
Spirits are formed from the emotions and desires of people in the mortal realm. Manfred's wisp came from curiosity. It's these spirits which animate the dead. Their drive revives the corpse, yet the corpse colors their actions. Thus, the eternal question, are undead inhuman spirits puppeting a body, or does some shade of the departed return?
I debated that enough during my tenure at the necropolis, if it's all the same.
I belong to the side that believes in a deeper resurrection, but let's let the subject lie.
Wow.
Wow.
You know, you sound different when you talk Mourn watch things. Way fancier.
I do no such... No, I don't.
Thanks, Professor. I learned a lot today.
My pleasure. Thank you again for coming. It'll be good to perform the rites of remembrance with another watcher. Excellent. Manfred found his way down. Very good, Manfred.
He sounds excited.
I thought we'd start the rites here. A tableau of the dead, commissioned 173 years ago.
I remember this. A visiting Orlesian mage called it the most macabre thing he'd ever seen.
Orlesians. Fabulous artists, but no eye for the long run. These lives were flickers against the ages, precious, fragile, and finite. Now they serve as a warning. Don't linger overlong in the gloom. Live with grace and fervor while you may.
It's good to hear another watcher say that.
It's a common lesson.
I like that you're not so grim about it.
That one's livelier. Here. Who were you when you breathed above?
This body was a tailor's, a mother's. She laughed and taught and wove the robes kings wore when they were crowned.
Tja. Someone must realign her thoracic vertebrae. I hope the novices are inspecting the displays.
Being a watcher of the Grand Necropolis should come with standards.
I remember it being better kept in my day. Doubtlessly just the comforting murk of time.
You could ask someone down here if it's true.
There's a thought.
Time to light the candles?
If you would.
Been a while since I paid homage to our dead.
Would you care to light the candle, Rook? Look at this. The last tomb of the Tannhausens. A very influential family in the Storm Age.
We broke the bones of dragons.
A posthumous motto. Their last heir met his match against a Highland Ravager.
Death by dragon? I'm surprised there was enough to bury.
How interesting that the necropolis moved these gardens so far below.
Oh, right. They used to be higher. Did the necropolis shuffle around its rooms again?
It did. We'll have some work ahead, leading people here on the days of public mourning. Could you light the next candle? Aha! One of my favorite flowers! A variegated weeping widower.
You know your plants.
Alchemy is my hobby. It's a break from teaching spirit calling and theoretical applied metaphysics.
That's some advanced necromancy.
Well, feel free to browse my books in the lighthouse. I just found a wonderful work on chronological transection in the Fade. This way, Rook.
That bell did its job. Not a trace of despair demons. I mean, spirits.
It's all right. You've been away from the Watchers a while.
Thanks. Everyone outside the necropolis uses demons instead of spirits all the time.
I shan't judge any slips. You'll need to light these candles as well.
Open your hearts to the final day, companion of all the ages.
You still have the old ritual memorized?
Like I said, a watcher should have some standards.
The spirits gather. Only a few more candles. Follow me. Ah, look here.
Greetings to the dead and undying.
I think it might be welcoming you home. We're also enjoying the gardens, but we've one last ritual ahead. On your way, my friend.
Spirits really are your specialty.
I've always had a rapport with them. Even as a child, they were my companions.
After you started training here?
After I was orphaned.
Oh.
A collapsed building, swift deaths. After the funeral, the Watchers took me in.
We're not so different. Watchers discovered me down here as a foundling.
I'd heard a Watcher was found as an infant in the necropolis.
Well, I ran around Navarra's streets before I went back to the Watchers. You settled in better.
I needed time. When I first arrived, I was terrified.
And you still joined the Watchers?
They're what saved me. Come, the next set of graves lies ahead. Please, light the next candles if you would. There's much to recommend about the rhythm of a ceremony. It eases our worst hours. As a boy, the Watcher's rituals were exactly what I needed to steady my days with purpose.
If our necropolis teaches us anything, it's to face life and death.
I was grateful for it, Rook. Immensely. All this pageantry, this magnificent gloom and its rites. I ask you, Rook, what is it for?
Let no Watcher forget that our greatest treasury is our dead.
Yes, exactly, exactly. This place is an abundance of history, of magic, of memories. The Watchers preserve it so the living may draw comfort from those who've gone before. We must get to the candle, please, Manfred.
I've resurrected simple undead before, but I've never seen a wisp animate a corpse so smoothly.
He's taken remarkably well to having a body, haven't you, Manfred? Here are the last candles you'll need to light. Once you're ready, we'll need to ring the bell. Let the rites be acknowledged. Our bonds seen and sealed.
We honor the listening spirits.
Hail from the abyss.
We witness, good Watchers, faith kept in all our paths.
It's been a while since I saw greater spirits of the necropolis.
Those two in particular are amongst our oldest friends. We'll need to ring the bell once more to close out the departing ceremony.
So you were really afraid of this place as a child?
It wasn't the necropolis itself, but what was draped around it. Have you ever been frightened by the thought of dying, Rook?
Hasn't everyone from time to time?
When I was younger, it happened more often than that. That's when I discovered I possess a great terror of dying. It goes beyond dread. Can't be reasoned with. or soothed over. It comes without warning. In the dead of night, in sunlit streets, a raw, strangling fear struck somewhere deep past the heart.
That's an issue for a necromancer.
Oddly, I discovered I wasn't alone. I debated this fear with friends. I argued with teachers. Yet, it lingered. Manfred's right. That's maudlin enough. There are struggles, but a watcher should always find peace amongst the graves. And what sort of homecoming would this be for you if we didn't end with some light refreshment?
Did you set all this up to make a good impression?
Of course not. I was only...
Because it's working.
Then it's my pleasure to share the tranquility of this place with you. With all my regards. Oh, but I don't want them to think me homesick.
Hi, Emmrich.
Rook, hello. Just composing a few letters. The other Watchers have been most interested in our adventures.
You have more credibility than I do back home.
Perhaps. Speaking of home, have we rarely never met around the necropolis before? Even in passing?
Well, all of the Watcher's teachers are a little eccentric. But I'd remember you, Emmrich.
I must have been on an extended excursion into the necropolis when you were trained. Now, kindly define eccentric?
Oh, my hexcraft teacher taught half of her lessons from inside a burial urn.
Yes, Dr. Elgenbracht's methods are unusual, but her spellcraft...
And she always marked me down on punctuation. I miss anything big around the necropolis while I was gone?
Caspar I led a stately procession around the wards of his tomb palace.
That hasn't happened in 300 years.
No one knows what occasioned it. Oh, and necromancers outside the Mourn Watch attempted to claim the funerary dead. Again!
It's right in the Royal Charter. Only Mortalitassi ascended to the Mourn Watch have final authority in the necropolis.
I've had to explain the distinction between Mortalitassi and Watchers a dozen times since leaving home.
But it's simple. Every Navarra necromancer is called a Mortalitassi, and some Mortalitassi join the Mourn Watch. Done.
Exactly, one would think.
I should fulfill my Watcher oaths and ask, any supernatural trouble in Navarra?
A gathering of pride spirits down in Cumberland, easily dispelled. And we finally stopped those wandering cenotaphs from appearing in the Weeping Vale. That took some effort. Nothing else, aside from the elven gods disrupting the Fade.
And yet...
There's so much more than spirits in the Fade. Entities and instrumentalities we know only by their shadows.
If you've spotted something in the Fades...
I'm not sure. It's only an occasional stillness where movement and light should be. Let's hope I'm imagining things.
I couldn't help overhearing the word homesick.
Oh, I'm fine. Completely absorbed in our venture. But if I were home, I'd be preparing for new students or requests to speak to the dead.
You didn't stop teaching just to be with us, did you?
I'm long overdue for a sabbatical. Besides, do you know how many students the faculty wanted in my class next season? 10! How's one meant to tailor separate lessons for 10 pupils at a time? Honestly.
Can people just ask you to show up for some corpse whispering?
Oh, nothing official. There are very few of us, but we help here and there. Questioning a victim of murder, clearing up disputed wills, and sometimes fetching back last words from a loved one.
Have you used corpse whispering on King Marcus?
Whatever are you talking about?
Oh, come on.
His Majesty's health is a delicate subject. Besides, the palace necromancers aren't watchers. They've their own corpse whisperer.
Ah, so King Marcus is dead. Or undead.
Half the nobility must suspect by now. Can you imagine what the other kingdoms would think? I stay well clear of it.
Good to chat. I'll let you get back to your letter.
Before you go, I wanted to thank you for your company in the Memorial Gardens. There's another ceremony I have to perform there. If you'd like to visit again. Not yet, but soon.
You know I can't turn down spending more time with you.
How lovely to hear you say so. I'll always be glad to show you around the tombs, my dear. At your pleasure.
I'll take you up on that.
Wonderful. Until then.
Hi, Emmrich. You've got a guest.
Ah, Rook. You remember the Hand of Glory?
Hard to forget. You figure out what those Venatori who broke into the necropolis were doing with it.
The hand is how they broke in. The simpler undead are blind to its bearer when its tapers are lit. Sadly, only a death mage could have provided them with this forbidden necromancy.
If they're helping the Venatori, that has to stop.
Agreed. I've made some inquiries. This man is one of the death mage's victims. If he knows where this rogue necromancer is hiding, my corpse whispering will give us the answer.
Floor's all yours.
It shouldn't take long. I must warn you, it will be harder to coax answers from this poor man than from the dead I spoke to in the necropolis. Let flame rekindle your sight. Let breath and light rise again.
Who did this to you?
Eyes hidden, dust and gold.
Give us a name.
They come for this one. The spirits shriek. They come.
A name?
Blackthorn.
Return to your rest.
Not a flinch. You really know what you're doing.
Experience is the greatest teacher, and an open heart to what the spirits need.
I bet not every necromancer looks so dapper when they're working, though.
You choose the most extraordinary moments for compliments.
Is that bad?
Quite the opposite.
Back to the topic. Does Blackthorn mean anything to you?
Blackthorn Manor is an abandoned country house outside Navarra City. Our victim mentioned spirits. If they've also fallen prey to forbidden magic, they'll need our help as well. Let's depart for Blackthorn when you're ready. I'd like to speak to the necromancer behind all this.
So, Blackthorn Manor. Let's hope that necromancer working with the Venatori is around.
There's a malaise amongst the spirits here. Some form of confinement. This must be the place.
Right. So why'd we bring that?
Oh, it's essential we have the Hand of Glory.
I never saw one in action during my necropolis training.
Oh, I should hope not. The mischief a student could work with it chills the soul. The magic laid upon a hand of glory is complex. Whoever killed its donor left their mark.
So it'll lead us to whoever cut it off?
Precisely. Most likely the necromancer who's been helping the Venatori. It would have taken extraordinary skill to layer the involutions on this artifact. What a waste of talent.
I like how passionate you are about your work.
Death is one of the primordial forces. It breaks bonds as it lays the ground for the new. At times, there's something stirring about the elegance of it.
I never heard the other Watchers put it that way.
I always choose my words carefully. Forbidden necromancy can twist spirits. We must find this death mage and stop whatever they've done to them. Oh, the Song of the Chambers won't have anything on what Johanna's... Perhaps the Waking Scrolls? No. Manfred, have you seen the Fellmarch manuscripts?
You and Manfred need an extra pair of eyes for whatever this is?
I suppose it's time I explained this mess. Johanna Hesenkos was a watcher. She was banished for embracing the darker paths of our art. Forbidden magic, blood sacrifice, nothing is beyond her if it leads to power, recognition, or both.
It sounded like you knew her before all that.
We were friends, once.
If it helps, you've got someone who cares right next to you.
That's very dear of you, but I'll be fine.
It's so cute how you're such a bad liar.
Things used to be much better between Johanna and me. She truly was brilliant, and we got on so well as students. We partnered on papers, rituals, research. Yet even then, Johanna considered the Watcher's oaths quaint. This isn't the first time we've crossed paths since she was exiled, but now I fear she's turned herself partly undead.
Even after what she's done, I feel a little bad for her.
Well, undeath isn't always a disadvantage. But yes, you saw Johanna's Lantern of Unwilling Souls. A necromancer could create monstrous undead with that much stolen life.
Hesenkos was yelling a lot about conquering Navarra City.
We must stop her, Rook. Thank you, Manfred. Quite right. The Order's knowledge will see us through. Ah, hello there. Just admiring how carefully the Fade is woven into this place, as cultivated as a palace garden.
That's old elven stuff for you. Magic everywhere you look, and also where you don't.
I do envy you, Rook.
Really?
You know how seldom Watchers leave Navarra, if ever. You've already traveled more of Thedas than most of us see in a lifetime. What adventures you've had.
You cut a pretty intriguing figure yourself. Do you really think of me as some grand adventurer?
Well, something thrills at traveling with a bright-eyed hero who's racing to stop an apocalypse. Especially if she's shown unexpected interest in a new companion.
Before we get closer, I wanted to talk about myself a little. I'm not a woman or a man. When I told people that, most accepted me, but not everyone.
Oh, they are fools.
I have to agree.
I've always thought you are wonderful company, and if I might, I believe there's nothing so attractive as someone who's found herself. But tell me, my dear, if the attraction's returned.
Well, the distinguished looks don't hurt your chances.
I'm fortunate you think so. May I show you something of the greater fade here?
Go ahead.
Close your eyes. Take a breath. Slow, deep. Be born on the great currents. See now as they see. When I talk to the dead, their echoes abide with me. Thoughts and passions, hopes and desires. The shades of death have more intricacy than even a young watcher may know, Rook. If your attentions go beyond charming flattery, that would interest me, indeed.
You know, I've never seen another watcher do what you...
You finished the reagent. Excellent work, Manfred. I must tend to this, but I'd be delighted if we found each other later. Do you remember, Rook, when I mentioned another ceremony I must perform at the Memorial Gardens? The time has come. I was hoping you'd accompany me again.
It can't be time to relight the graves yet.
Oh, this isn't Watcher business. It's a more personal visit, whenever you've time. Now, what do you have to say for yourself?
Did I miss something?
Since we're here to gather flowers for the dead, I thought I'd teach Manfred some plant names. But I just caught him attempting to wade into a rose bush.
That must have been frustrating.
He knows he's not supposed to play in the horticulture. Oh, Manfred. Whatever will happen to you if I pass on?
If?
There's something I'd like to talk about. Do you know what a lich is, Rook?
An undead mage that's retained their mind. They're theoretical, aren't they?
The idea fascinated me when I was younger. For years, I researched and experimented, spoke with spirits and mages. Then, eventually, I found them.
Who?
The Lich Lords of the Grand Necropolis. Necromancers before me who'd transformed themselves into true living dead.
Incredible. Do the other Watchers know?
Well, the most senior do. You weren't high enough in the Order to be informed. The Liches are the great protectors of the Necropolis, bulwarks against forces that threaten creation. After years of tests and rituals, they granted me my desire, the right to attempt lichdom.
Hold on. If you become a lich, then all this flirting we've been doing...
I should hate to lose your company while I'm still mortal.
What would you being a lich be like?
A vast leap. Flesh cast aside for bone, returned immortal for all time.
The whole necropolis will be jealous.
Oh, I don't want to incite any envy.
Emmrich, you've met our fellow necromancers. Also, I notice you haven't answered what lichdom means for flirting.
Our prohibitions regarding the dead wouldn't apply to a lich, but I'd inform you before making any decision to... Lichdom is an incredible honor. immortality, prestige, the most hallowed ranks of the Watchers, as well as a chance to be of service past my allotted years. But there are considerations. Come, we have flowers to gather for the dead.
Okay, but I've got questions.
Blue creepvine. This will do nicely.
So, if you were a lich, it wouldn't be a spirit mimicking you? It'd be your actual soul in the corpse.
It would.
I didn't think... Wait, is that what Vorgoth is?
Oh, no one knows what Vorgoth is. Moon blossoms, famed in verse and song.
Smells like perfume. Do liches have a sense of smell?
I've been told that while some of my senses will dull, others will become available. Other than that, I can't say if the flowers would still hold their bloom for me. Lichdom serves a purpose. There are dark things in creation, threats to both our world and the Fade. The Liches of the Necropolis have the insight and the abilities to oppose them.
And you're joining them when?
Certain elements have held me back. There's no ready instructions for Lichdom. The steps must be discovered on one's own over years to be fully understood.
Does the spell to become a lich kill you, or do you have to...
No, mercifully, that falls to another Watcher. After my death, my soul will be drawn back into my body instead of moving on to whatever lies beyond.
So, what's holding you back from lichdom?
Even with all my preparations, there's a chance I could die, permanently, during the rites. What cowardice! The promise of immortality, an end to all my fears, and the final veil stays my hand.
That's reasonable. Lots of people are afraid of dying.
Is it? When it keeps me from what I most desire? Traditionally, candidates for lichdom face one final sifting of the soul. If they avoid it, you saw my old colleague.
Hezenkos. She's a lich.
A half-lich, though that hasn't diminished her powers. Until I stop her plans, I won't possess the peace of mind for lichdom. Why don't you select the next flowers, Rook?
Sure. So what's a half-lich exactly?
Johanna attempted the rites of lichdom and failed. Stuck in her in-between state, she is supremely dangerous, but can't learn any new magic.
No wonder Hezenkos was shouting so much.
Oh, she's always been that way.
What about the sifting of a soul that Hezenkos avoided?
The spirits of the Necropolis judge whether a candidate is worthy of the power and responsibility of lichdom.
How'd she become a lich without it?
I shared some knowledge when we were colleagues. She apparently put together more than I knew. It would be just like her to skip the rituals, the cleansings, the preparations of the soul.
For a Watcher, Hezenkos is pretty harsh on spirits.
We made allowances because of her discoveries. Too many. Spirits are not things to be disposed of.
You really care about them?
They're so susceptible to the world's whims, Rook. Some spirits are dangerous, but how quickly most respond to a bit of kindness or care, or simple attempt to understand. For all she's done, I can't condemn Johanna for attempting lichdom. That freedom from mortality, that divorce from fear, and of course, time to read all of one's books.
Of course.
But how she's abused her abilities. Are my intentions enough to fare better?
Worrying's a good sign.
We have enough flowers. There's something I'd like to show you. Here we are.
Oh, so these flowers are for...
Yes. If you could place them on the graves, please.
In memory of Rupert and Eleonora Volcarin, they walk eternity hand in hand.
After I became a watcher, I erected a proper shrine to my parents. When I come to talk, I like to think they listen. Well, don't be shy. Introduce yourself.
Rook, also a Mourn Watcher. How'd you do? Do you remember your parents?
Some memories are bright. Others are akin to those dim, early morning dreams one gets sometimes. Lately, I wondered what they'd think of our current course. The choices ahead.
Your lichdom?
What would they have wanted me to be?
Happy with someone who cares for you.
Shroud's Kiss. I've always loved the legend around this flower. They say it grows on lovers' graves, and that one moves closer to the Fade simply by inhaling its fragrance.
Is that true?
It is when I will it, my dear.
What else?
What a day of unexpected splendor. Rook, darling, I was thinking of spending an evening with just the two of us.
I'd like that.
Wonderful. I've made all the arrangements at the necropolis. We'll leave whenever you're ready. How did you find everything?
I never ate this well when I was training in the necropolis.
You may be interested to know I was permitted to raise a few cooks from the royal crypts tonight.
Wait, not from the tomb of Veneska IV.
I'd hoped the evening might impress. The amount of work on you worries me, Rook. Responsibility exacts a toll on the body.
I have been more tired lately.
More so than you might even realize. I do ask that you at least avoid putting pressure on that stiff left wrist.
It's a little stiff. Impressed you spotted it.
Well, I am familiar with the finer points of anatomy. It's good we made time for this. A couple should get to know one another in comfort.
Time to dig into our feelings?
I'd be delighted if the mood moves you.
Devastating charm aside, what do you like about me?
Apart from the compliment of your interest,
Come on.
darling, it's gratifying a fresh-faced adventurer noticed me at all. And your spirit does charm, but there's also something quite indomitable about you, Rook. It inspires.
Oh, thanks. What's your favorite color?
Well, can I only choose one?
Let me guess. Black? Green? Yellow, but like a bone yellow?
Lilac.
Ah, of course you went to a flower.
It's such a pretty shade of purple. It brings thoughts of spring. And what's your favorite shade of color?
Rich purple. The kind you get with those really expensive dyes.
It's the color of royalty in some kingdoms.
Maybe I've got ambitions. This is one of the more romantic dates I've been on.
How wonderful. I was afraid I'd lost my touch. Between work and research and teaching Manfred, there hasn't been time lately for company.
How lately?
No one's serious for a few years. Apart from that, I'd prefer we leave the past be.
All right. Stay a man of mystery. Anyway, should we enjoy the garden?
Certainly. They're wondering what we're up to. Wisps are ever attracted to the gardens.
Like you?
The Fade is close here. As our spirits I count as guides and friends. Beyond that, I feel there are mysteries past our comprehension. Something beyond the weft of magic or deepest Fade. When I'm fortunate, I spy suggestions of them here.
You're so philosophical around flowers.
It's the purpose of the gardens, to lift our thoughts to something higher and finer than we are.
Like that.
Sometimes, my dear, I think you indulge me.
When I'm in the mood.
I don't understand why you're bringing so many books.
Well, I don't see what your objections are to my taking a canopy.
We're only going for 2 days.
You've hardly brought more than a flask and a bedroll.
Should I send a search party out for you two in a couple of days?
No.
Of course not.
Emmrich wants to see more of Ferelden, so we're going camping. But he's treating it like we're going to an academic thing.
An expedition can have its earthly comforts.
You want to bring a shaving kit in the woods.
My dear Harding, a gentleman is never without a brush and a razor.
The whole point of going to the wilds is to get away from all that. So what if you get muddy and smell a little bad?
One can enjoy the scenery while remembering to bathe.
Emmrich, you always look good. And you can tell me all about the trip when you get back.
Of course, darling. It is only 2 days after all.
Exactly. So why are you packing a dressing gown? I don't understand the gown.
Harding, does it really matter if Emmrich brings 8 books?
9, actually.
And Emmrich, so what if Harding is fine sleeping on dirt?
Not all the time. Okay, Rook, I know. This trip's supposed to be fun.
I really have looked forward to you showing me more of your home, Harding.
Me too. Oh, and I'll make us sandwiches.
Ah, your famous ham and jam slam?
Well, yam and jam slam because you don't eat meat. So I'll use yams.
How thoughtful. Thank you, Harding.
So you're with Rook now?
We're exploring the matter, yes?
Good. I hope you two do good stuff.
Oh, thanks, Tosh.
Just don't do corpse stuff in bed.
What?
No, sorry, you're right. It's not my stuff. Do corpse stuff in bed if you want to.
Thank you, Tosh, for the sentiment.
Myrna, hello. I assume Vorgoth's not far behind.
We have her, Rook. We have her. We know exactly what she's planning.
The professor asked us to research the artifact that came into the possession of Johanna Hezenkos.
She carries a gloaming lantern.
There you are.
They were fashioned in ages past by unscrupulous necromancers. The lanterns steal and concentrate life.
Johanna could use it to leech life from hundreds at a time. An endless source of power.
A lantern that sucks the life out of people?
Their very souls. But we know where Johanna will be.
She has returned to Blackthorn Manor.
Hezenkos intends to hold a soiree.
That can't be her whole plan.
No, but I propose a small group infiltrate Johanna's lair while she's distracted and destroy her lantern.
Let's do it.
Vorgoth and I must return to the necropolis.
Hunt well.
If only we could make Johanna see reason.
You tried before. She seems stubborn.
Perhaps that's why she attained immortality, while I quake on the threshold. If I make my own bid for lichdom. Oh, it's no use pretending this hasn't stirred up that old dread of my own mortality.
I'm always here to talk about it. You know that, right?
It's a comfort, darling. Truly, but... Oh, Johanna was never beset by these sort of fears.
Well, a little fear's healthy. You'll feel better once we crash her lair and destroy that lantern. Promise. Okay, so the plan is basically to sneak around, find Hezenkos' lantern, and smash it. That's quite a crowd over in the manor.
Johanna's gathering. If she's mingling there, we'll be spotted. Fortunately, we have someone who could pass as a servant.
Nothing livens up a party like having a few undead around.
It always lends them a certain ambience. Right, Manfred. You're to find Johanna's guests and help us gather information on where her workshop might be. We'll be watching in case anything occurs.
Something's going to occur.
Once we find and destroy Johanna's lantern, we'll end whatever she's planning. Hopefully before she introduces the lantern to her guests. Oh my! A body from the House of the Verheims, prepared during the Storm Age.
You're adorable when you get excited about things like this.
Well, who wouldn't be, darling? Such a rare find.
Time to find Hezenkos. He's all yours, Emmrich.
By flame and seal, by light and flood, open your eyes once more.
Who dares disturb?
Friends to the dead.
Friends, this one was abandoned, lost.
Emmrich, it's getting noisy.
He's unusually obstinate. Speak! Where is Hezenkos?
Prove yourselves. What claim have you to the deceased? A willing dead companion. This one concedes. Hezenkos makes a thing that should not be. Red tapestry. Look there.
Rook, did you hear that? Manfred just...
I know. Also, we should move.
What's that, Volkaren? Afraid to chance death for your precious spirits? For all your fine words on the subject, only I had the courage to risk my life for our art.
He's still got twice your backbone.
I see Volkaren somehow did net himself a paramour.
Johanna! Listen to me! You're right! I've never overcome fear of that final dark. I miss having a friend that could.
Yes. Always the idealist.
I'm sorry Lichdom failed you. I swear I would have helped you had you come to me. But puppeting this creature...
Puppet? Puppet? Do you think I'm staying a failed lich? I won't command my greatest creation! I will become it!
His body could only take so much. But I underestimated him, Rook. What bravery in the heart of the dead. And how he grew. Manfred disobeyed me beautifully. He was his own soul at the end.
Can you bring him back?
I will ask.
Emmrich Volkaren. You were not expected so soon.
Hail, the lords of the necropolis.
Hail the Watchers. What has brought you?
My lord, I come regarding Manfred, my fallen companion.
Yes, there are ways to return his spirit. But should you do this, Lichdom falls from your grasp.
What? Why?
Lichdom is long. If I'm to stand outside death, I must make peace with others passing through it.
What would we otherwise become? How many exceptions till tyranny? Revive him and remain mortal. Or let him slumber and join us.
Emmrich.
Manfred chose to help us. Am I too weak to accept his well-earned rest? I yearn for Lichdom, Rook. That leap into something greater, that everlasting light. Do I revive him and live out my days? Or do I honor death by letting him rest and protect this world through immortality?
Mortality's a hard price, but you'd miss Manfred.
Oh, of course I would. But a Watcher should be more accepting of loss, of grief, of his own death in turn.
You're braver than you know, Emmrich. You've always risked your life. Against Hezenkos, against the gods.
Death's abyss always recedes with someone to brave it for.
I think facing a lot of things would be easier if Manfred was back.
Oh, he was fearless. He has so much potential, Rook. So far to grow.
Then help him do it.
You're absolutely right. I'll need your help. Rest easy, Manfred. We'll soon have you back amongst the living. I've made my preparations, Rook. will you help me restore Manfred to the world of the living?
I pledge assistance as a watcher to this work.
Let us walk these paths together with the dead. Thank you. We must go to the necropolis once you're ready.
Okay, Emmrich. How's this work?
We'll need assistance finding Manfred's wisp and drawing it back into his body. By pact and pledge, I seek an audience. By light and breath, let wisdom come. You've met these spirits before, but I've never properly introduced you. Rook, allow me to present two Necropolis Guardians, the keepsake of ages and far-sighted curio.
Those your names? You're two of our oldest spirits.
We've watched long enough to be caught in paper thoughts.
Not that we've sought much fame.
Friends, my assistant, my ward, Manfred, sacrificed himself to save us.
We'd heard you'd abandoned Lichdom to bring him back. Your work, your dreams.
You paid the price. But it seems there are many flickers of curiosity in the Fade.
And only one you seek. Draw his wisp near. Speak.
Can I help?
Yes, please. Think of Manfred. Tell me something you felt about him. Concentrate.
He was always excited to be around you, Emmrich. If spirits can learn to love, he loved you.
In the sea of the Fade, there are wakes left by our passing. Our desires, our fears. I leave this beacon for you, Manfred. Follow my voice. Return to me, please. Manfred?
It worked.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful indeed.
Thanks for stitching that seam on my coat, Fred. It was coming loose. And nice new threads yourself.
Thank you. Yes, we needed something to mark him as an apprentice around the necropolis.
It's a good fit. See you around.
Yes!
How you doing, Manfred?
Alive! He's excited for his training. Manfred's spellcraft is coming along nicely, more or less. Some undead have the potential to cast magic. I believe his was unlocked by his journey through the Fade.
What was that like?
Dunno. You mean you don't know? Dunno. We must work on that enunciation. Why don't you fetch the primer?
There goes our magic-flinging skeleton son.
Well, I wouldn't go so far. Certainly I've a responsibility to educate him, and he'll need moral guidance. Most spirits do. But did you know, yesterday he said the most amusing thing while...
He's got your eyes.
As he grows, Manfred will better learn to take care of himself. I won't worry so much when I pass on.
How do you feel about that last part?
I have moments of regret for what Lichdom might have been. but none would make me exchange this for anything.
He's surprised us before. But enough about me. Tell me about you and Emmrich.
What? Who? How?
Morrigan has eyes everywhere.
Of course she does.
Emmrich, if you liked someone, what would you do? To show them you like them, I mean.
Strangely enough, I might have found myself in that situation recently.
You mean you and Rook?
You noticed?
Emmrich, everyone noticed.
Well, it began when we spent some time together in the Memorial Gardens.
Don't, spirits hang around there?
Oh, a few, certainly. Darling, I'm just finishing reviewing my bequeathments. It made me consider a topic I must broach. The eve before we kill a god, my thoughts turn to mortality and what we are to each other.
All right.
Even under the best circumstances, you will outlive me, Rook. You've grown to mean much to me, and I care for you, Rook. Deeply. But there are such years between us, I shouldn't heap you with that burden.
You're breaking my heart by worrying.
Darling, I only wish to be fair to you.
I know what I'm getting into.
At your age?
Oh, don't start.
We must consider this.
You're overthinking it, and it's not the time.
One of us needs to consider my mortality.
Because you're worried about me or insecure about you? Look, let's pack. Eat before we face a god, right?
As you say. Don't start.
Why does Emmrich have to... I mean, I know he's just...
Rook, darling, I wanted to say...
Yeah, about that argument.
It's no time to apologize, is it?
We'll talk back home, Emmrich. I promise.
Darling, are you certain you're all right?
No, but I will be.
Rook, let us send word to all our allies. Your only task for now should be to rest. I hope you're feeling more yourself soon. I'll be back.
Did we have to risk visiting the necropolis?
I needed its subtler enchantments to detect what we must know. There's no mark of the cursed Solus left on you. Darling, I thought I'd lost you forever in the Fade.
I'm fine, Emmrich. It's all over.
Only because you had the presence of mind to push forward. If things had gone differently...
I still wouldn't have let them keep us apart.
My love, you are the most remarkable person I've ever known.
I did have someone to come back to.
Rook? I was going to fetch some breakfast. Would you like anything? Come again?
What time is it?
It's nearly dawn. I've been up for an hour.
Of course you're an early riser.
I like to take my exercise in the morning.
That's nice. Peaceful down here. You could almost pretend nothing's wrong up top.
When I'm with you, it feels as if there isn't.
We could stay here just a little longer.
What are you... If you insist. Oh, it is purest relief to see us all gathered safe and sound. We reunited with Balara. What that poor girl has been through, and she's still returned to the fray. Elganon must fear what we might accomplish once we storm his tower.
I never dreamed a pair of watchers would decide the fate of the Fade. Especially me.
To always watch over the boundaries of death and measure the dreaming sea. Elganon is a tyrant, but it's truly Solus who threatens us. He is, however, a former spirit. As such, Solus cannot help but listen to appeals to his nature, his yearning for reflection.
I could try talking him down once I find him.
We should depart soon, dearest. How I wish we were already safely home together. I love you, my darling Rook.
I love you too, Emmrich.
Come what may, I will carry those words with me. I'd no idea we'd be drawn together when we first met. No man alive is more fortunate than I. Speak the word, Rook, and I shall stand by your side.
Throne room's just ahead. Everybody ready?
There's nowhere I'd rather be, dearest.
You got us here, Rook. Now give me a target so we can finish this.
There are stories of love.
But those stories aren't over. And we will always be grateful to those whose stories brought us where we are today. And those whose stories will live on with us forever.